This week, it's time to bring Obscure Characters Month to a close with an episode looking at a Decepticon who's back in the spotlight at the moment thanks to the Legacy toy line. These are the basics on a bot who's all guns and no brains, QUAKE. The original QUAKE toy was released in 1988 and transformed into a Leopard 2 tank. He was one of the Targetmasters, Transformers who came with partner minifigures that converted into guns for them to wield. Like all the new 1988 Targetmasters, QUAKE had two partners, Tiptop and Heater, who, in addition to each transforming into a gun, could also combine into one large superweapon, or even take the place of QUAKE's tank barrel while he was in vehicle mode. Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky wrote a profile for QUAKE which characterized him as a Decepticon ground assault trooper, able to traverse any terrain thanks to adhesive tank treads that let him scale even sheer surfaces. In battle, QUAKE was a raging berserker. Even his fellow Decepticons had to duck and cover when he started shooting, because he wouldn't stop until everything around him was reduced to rubble, unless he either ran out of ammo or pushed himself so hard that he overheated and shut down. Tiptop and Heater, meanwhile, were aliens from the planet Nebulos. Tiptop was a disgraced former circus strongman who turned into a gyroscopic destabilizer, while Heater was a street punk on the run from the cops for selling illicit goods, who became a photon pistol. QUAKE's only appearances in classic Transformers media were in the Marvel comic book, in which he was your basic Decepticon goon, serving under whoever happened to be in charge of the faction at any given time. He first appeared in stories exclusive to the British version of the comic, fighting in gladiatorial combat for the amusement of the Decepticon rulers on Cybertron. He later made the jump to the American comic, showing up in the last few issues of the series to take part in the Transformers' battle against the Dark God, Unicron, then finally falling under the command of new leader Bludgeon and joining in his attack on the planet Clo. QUAKE continued to appear among Bludgeon's troops in the comic's 1993 sequel, Generation 2. But given that his toy had been discontinued in 1989, he was now a firmly expendable character, and so was killed off halfway through the series, blown to bits in a battle with an enemy faction of second-generation Decepticons. Given that he was never the most significant Decepticon, it came as a bit of a surprise when the official Transformers convention, BotCon, chose to bring QUAKE back in the first issue of the convention's exclusive comic book, The Wreckers, in 2001. This story was set during the events of the 1999 cartoon series, Beast Machines, and saw QUAKE resurrected by the Predacon, Megatron, to serve as a general in his Viacon army. His spark implanted into a new body that was designed to look like a recolor of the Beast Machine's Tankor toy. But QUAKE's return to life proved to be a short one, as he was destroyed by the elemental powers of the Maximal Tigatron at the end of the issue. For the next 15 years, QUAKE's appearances were very limited, amounting to little more than tiny cameos in a handful of comic books, and a surprising inclusion as a multiplayer character in the 2012 video game Fall of Cybertron, and its prequel, Rise of the Dark Spark. His most substantial role was a 2-page appearance in issue number 7 of IDW Publishing's 2009 Transformers comic, in which he tried to kill Starscream after his inept leadership left the Decepticons stranded on an asteroid. But the furious QUAKE met with failure when Starscream attached a mind-controlling Cerebro shell to him, then instructed him to die, causing QUAKE to drop dead. The closest thing there was to a new QUAKE toy during this time was a simple little model released as part of the short-lived 3D battle card game in 2007. But while the model was clearly designed to be QUAKE, it wasn't sold under his name and was instead marketed as another Decepticon tank, Blitzwing. Eventually though, a new toy of Quake would be released in 2016's Titan's Return. A retool and recolor of the Autobot Hardhead from the same line, the figure transformed into a futuristic sci-fi tank. This version of Quake didn't come with his Targetmaster partners. Instead, his head disconnected and transformed into a minifigure called a Titan Master, who could ride in his tank mode cockpit. This Titan Master was named Chasm, who shared with Quake his power to open portals in space and time. Over the next few years, this new toy inspired appearances for Quake in both the Bumblebee Overdrive mobile game and the Transformers trading card game. And most significantly, its design would serve as the basis for Quake's appearance in the new universe introduced when IDW rebooted their comic books in 2019, which would provide the character with his biggest role in Transformers media yet. In this series, set before the outbreak of the Great War, Quake had been a soldier who had grown addicted to violence, fighting in the conflicts that had resulted from Cybertron's colonization of other worlds. But with the planet now at peace, he had no outlet for his sociopathic tendencies, which led him to join up with the Rise, the terrorist organization that would grow to become the Decepticons. When a botched Rise mission resulted in the death of the Autobot scientist Brainstorm, Quake was tasked with eliminating the sole witness to the killing. However, Quake's murder of the witness was stumbled upon by the young Transformer, Rubble, leading Quake to also kill him in an effort to cover his tracks. An Autobot manhunt for Quake ensued, and he was eventually tracked down and apprehended. But when he tried to escape custody, Rubble's mentor, Bumblebee, seized the opportunity to take revenge for the murder of his pupil by stabbing Quake to death. Most recently, another new Quake figure was released in the Legacy toy line in 2024. An extreme retool of the Decepticon's Skullgrin from the same line, this figure sported a reimagined version of Quake's classic tank mode and came complete with Tiptop and heater. He might be a mindless brute whose most consistent attribute is his tendency to die at the end of every story he appears in, but even an engine of destruction like Quake can build a history for themselves that'll live forever here in Obscure Characters Month. And those are the basics on Quake. That wraps up Obscure Characters Month for this year. Leave a comment below if you've enjoyed it, or if you have any suggestions for next year. Have yourselves a happy new year, and I'll see you in 2025 for more history and lore from the world of the Transformers.